Welcome to Let's Talk, hosted by my dad, Sean Lewis.
An area that I personally find very difficult is how to judge a political party on the basis of their economic policy. It's complex because everybody's going to talk about creating jobs, they're going to talk about reducing poverty, reducing inequality. But how do we actually judge the economic policy? And I came up with the idea of juxtaposing an extractive economic model versus an additive economic model. Now, this is what I mean by extractive versus additive. Extractive means that your economic model will not add anything to our existing economy. Now we know our economy is in shambles, right? And we know that we need to grow the economy. Now, how do we grow the economy? There's multiple ways, I believe. The one is to focus on our traditional strengths and grow our traditional strength, which is probably mining and agriculture and tourism. So grow mining, agriculture and tourism, and you have to find ways to grow mining, agriculture and tourism. Another way would be to say, in addition to growing mining, agriculture and tourism, we need to also add to those industries. So instead of pulling our minerals out of the ground and sending them to Europe or the USA to be processed, we should be processing them at home and then selling them, because now that adds something to the economy. So growing an economy is additive, and additive is what we want. We want economic policy that is additive as opposed to extractive. Now, in my mind, simply saying, let's nationalize the land, let's nationalize the banks, is not additive, it's extractive. All it does is it says, let's take the ownership of something and shift the ownership to something else, to the state, so that the state then accumulates those resources. But that doesn't add anything to the economy. Even our national health insurance, this new plan that is this new policy that is now going to be presented to the president for signature, is not additive, it is extractive. And I think extractive economic policies are really, really bad for South Africa, because we're not building anything new, we're not adding, we're not growing the economy. So I know it's still difficult, but I think we have to ask ourselves the question, when our parties talk to us about the economic policy, are they talking about growing the economy? Are they having an additive conversation? Or are they talking about extracting from the existing economy and simply moving pieces around on the board without necessarily growing the economy? And we should be looking for parties that have the ability to understand, to talk about growing the economy, whether that is growing our traditional base or whether that is adding to our traditional base. But growth is what we require in order to address things like poverty, in order to address things like inequality. Poverty and inequality exist because we do not generate enough wealth in this country. And I know people are going to talk about how many rich people there are in the country and how we can take from rich people. The reality is that this economy is supported by a very small middle class. They're not rich. They might be rich by South African standards, but they're not rich. It's supported by a very small middle class who contribute to our tax base, and it's our tax base that makes things possible, that makes it possible to deliver services and manage infrastructure. So we need to add to that tax base. So let's look for an additive economic model.